Australia, land of sunshine, shrimp on the Barbie, and an economic winning streak that would make even a kangaroo jealous. For almost 3 decades we laughed in the face of recessions. We were the envy of the world, a shining example of prosperity. But guess what, mates? The good times? They're about to go the way of the Tasmanian tiger. Extinct. Yeah, no matter who you vote for, no matter how many times a politician tells you she'll be right, the truth is, things are changing. And not in a good way. So how did we manage to dodge the economic bullets for so long? Well, a big part of it was dumb luck. We hit the jackpot when China decided it loved our dirt. Iron ore, coal, you name it, we shipped it off to the Middle Kingdom by the boatload. They built their cities, we lined our pockets, it was a beautiful if slightly one-sided friendship. But like all good things, it couldn't last forever. Remember that old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket? Turns out putting all your iron ore in China's basket wasn't the smartest move either. China's economy is slowing down. For decades, China was the engine that powered not just its own growth, but much of the world's. Skyscrapers shot up like bamboo after the rain, factories hummed day and night, and the demand for raw materials seemed endless. But now, the pace has changed. The once bustling construction sites are quieter, cranes stand still, and the relentless march of development has hit a speed bump. This slowdown isn't just a blip, it's a sign that the world's second-largest economy is facing some serious challenges, from a property market in crisis to mounting local government debt and a shrinking workforce. The ripple effects are being felt far beyond China's borders. They're not building skyscrapers at the same pace anymore, which means they're not buying as much of our dirt. For Australia, this is a big deal. Our iron ore, coal, and other minerals have long been shipped by the boatload to fuel China's growth. When China was booming, so were we. But now, with fewer buildings going up and less steel being poured, demand for our resources has dropped. Ships that once left our ports full now sit waiting for orders that may never come. The mining towns that thrived on Chinese demand are starting to feel the pinch, and the flow-on effects are spreading through the economy. And when China sneezes, Australia catches a cold. It's not just a saying, it's our economic reality. Our fortunes have been tied to China's for so long that any slowdown there hits us hard. Businesses feel it first, with fewer customers and tighter budgets. Workers worry about job security, and families start to tighten their belts. The mood in our cities shifts from optimism to uncertainty, as people wonder what the future holds. But it's not just China. The whole global economy is going through a rough patch. From Europe to the United States, growth is slowing, inflation is biting, and confidence is shaky. International travel is down, global trade is stalling, and investment is drying up. The interconnectedness that once brought prosperity is now spreading anxiety, as problems in one part of the world quickly ripple across borders. Trade wars, pandemics, you name it, it's all come together to create a perfect storm of economic uncertainty. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed just how vulnerable our supply chains are, and ongoing trade tensions with China and other partners have only made things worse. Empty shelves in supermarkets, closed businesses, and rising unemployment have become all too familiar. It's a reminder that the global economy is fragile and shocks can come from anywhere, at any time. And let's be honest, we haven't exactly been diversifying our portfolio. For years, we've relied on mining and resources to drive our economy, while other sectors have struggled to keep up. Manufacturing has declined, innovation has lagged, and we've put too many eggs in one basket. Now, as the world changes, we're feeling the consequences of that lack of preparation. Our leaders talk about the need for new industries, but real change has been slow to come. We've been so busy digging stuff out of the ground, we forgot to invest in other industries. Mining has brought us wealth, but it's also made us complacent. While other countries have built up technology, renewable energy, and advanced manufacturing, we've stuck with what we know best. Now, as demand for our resources wanes, we're left scrambling to catch up. The world is moving on, and we risk being left behind if we don't adapt. Now, we're stuck with a one-trick pony in an economy that's demanding a whole circus. The challenges we face are real, but so are the opportunities if we're willing to seize them. It's time to rethink our approach, invest in new industries, and build a more resilient, diverse economy. Because if we don't, the next time the world catches a cold, we might find ourselves out in the cold for good. Speaking of things that are too damn high, let's talk about the cost of living. It's not just rent that's through the roof. Everywhere you look, prices are climbing faster than a koala up a gum tree. Whether you're filling up your trolley at the supermarket, topping up your tank at the servo, or just trying to find a place to live in the city, it feels like your wallet is under constant attack. Australians everywhere are feeling the squeeze, and it's not just a minor inconvenience, it's a daily struggle that's reshaping the way we live, work, and dream about the future. Remember when you could buy a house without needing to win the lottery? Pepperidge Farm remembers. There was a time not so long ago when owning a home was considered a realistic goal for most Aussies. Your parents or grandparents might have bought their first house on a single income, maybe even with a bit of change left over for a family holiday. Fast forward to today, and the dream of home ownership feels more like a fantasy. Young couples spend their weekends traipsing from one open house to another, only to be outbid at auctions by investors or priced out by skyrocketing demand. Even renting isn't the safe haven it used to be. Rents are rising just as fast, and finding a decent place within your budget can feel like winning the lottery itself. These days, wages are stagnant, but the cost of everything from groceries to petrol is skyrocketing. You might have noticed your weekly shop costing more and more, even though you're buying the same basics. Petrol prices seem to jump overnight, making every trip to the Bowser a painful experience. And while the cost of living keeps climbing, pay packets just aren't keeping up. For many, it means cutting back on little luxuries, skipping nights out, or even having to choose between essentials. The gap between what we earn and what we need to spend is growing wider, and it's leaving a lot of Australians feeling left behind. Young people are priced out of the housing market, and even those lucky enough to own a home are feeling the pinch. It's not just about buying a house anymore, it's about keeping it. Mortgage repayments are rising, utility bills are stacking up, and unexpected expenses can throw even the best laid plans into chaos. For renters, the story isn't much better. Competition for affordable rentals is fierce, and many are forced to settle for less than ideal living situations just to keep a roof over their heads. The stress of making ends meet is taking a toll on families, couples, and individuals alike, changing the way we think about security and stability. And, honestly, don't even get me started on the rising cost of education and healthcare. Sending your kids to school, paying for textbooks, uniforms, and excursions, it all adds up. University fees are higher than ever, and student debt is becoming a lifelong burden for many young Australians. Healthcare, once a point of national pride, is also feeling the strain. Waiting times are up, out-of-pocket costs are rising, and families are left wondering how they'll afford the next medical bill. It's a lot to juggle, and it's no wonder so many people are feeling overwhelmed. It's enough to make you want to just chuck a snag on the Barbie, crack open a cold one, and pretend the problem doesn't exist. Sometimes the only way to cope is to gather your mates, fire up the grill, and take a break from worrying about bills and budgets. It's a classic Aussie way to deal with tough times. Find a bit of joy in the simple things, share a laugh, and remember that, even when things are tough, we're all in this together. But as the sun sets and the barbecue cools, the reality sets back in. The cost of living is a challenge we can't ignore forever. Maybe it's time for a national conversation about how we can make Australia a place where everyone can afford to live, not just survive. So, what does all this mean for the average Aussie? Well, for starters, that smashed avocado toast is about to get a whole lot more expensive. And that dream trip to Bali, you might want to start saving now, mate. But it's not just about lifestyle choices. We're talking about people losing their jobs, families struggling to put food on the table, and a generation saddled with debt they can't afford. When even a pack of Tim Tams is a luxury, you know things are bad. The lucky country? More like the struggling to make ends meet country. Now I know what you're thinking. You're probably sitting there, maybe with a cup of coffee in hand, watching the news or scrolling through your feed, and you can't help but wonder, surely someone in charge has a plan, right? After all, we elect these people, we trust them with our future, and we hope that when things get tough, they'll step up and steer the ship in the right direction. Surely our elected officials can fix this mess, right? That's what we're told anyway. Every election cycle, every press conference, every time there's a crisis, we hear the same reassuring words. We've got this under control. But if you've been paying attention, you might have noticed that the reality is a bit more complicated. Well, they can certainly talk a big game. Politicians are masters of the soundbite, the grand promise, the stirring speech that makes you believe change is just around the corner. They'll stand at the podium, surrounded by flashing cameras and waving banners, and tell you exactly what you want to hear. They'll promise you the moon on a stick, and sometimes, if you listen closely, it almost sounds believable. They'll paint a picture of a brighter tomorrow where all our problems are solved with a simple policy tweak or a new committee. The crowd cheers, the flags wave, and for a moment, hope feels tangible. But then, as soon as things get tough, the blame game begins. Suddenly, it's not their fault. It's the other party, the previous government, the global economy, or some faceless bureaucrat, all while blaming the other guy for the mess we're in. It's a well-rehearsed dance, and we've all seen it before. But let's be honest, the solutions they're offering are about as effective as a band-aid on a broken leg. We're facing deep structural issues: housing affordability, wage stagnation, climate change, healthcare pressures. And yet, the fixes we're offered are often superficial at best. It's like trying to stop a flood with a roll of paper towels. Tax cuts for the wealthy? That's the go-to move, isn't it? We're told that if we just make life a little easier for those at the top, the benefits will somehow trickle down to everyone else. But let's be real. Most Australians know that's not how it works. The gap between the haves and the have-nots keeps growing, and the promised prosperity rarely makes its way to the people who need it most. Trickle-down economics has been debunked more times than a flat earther's YouTube channel. Economists, researchers, and everyday Australians have seen the evidence. The wealth doesn't trickle, it pools. And yet, the myth persists, repeated in press conferences and policy papers, as if saying it enough times will make it true. The truth is, there are no easy answers. Our problems are woven into the fabric of our society, decades in the making, shaped by global forces, technology, and changing demographics. It's not something you can fix with a catchy slogan or a quick fix. It requires real work, tough choices, and a willingness to look beyond the next election cycle. We're facing complex, systemic problems that require bold, innovative solutions. We need leaders who are willing to listen to experts, invest in new ideas, and take risks for the greater good. It's about supporting entrepreneurs, scientists, and communities who are already working on the ground to make a difference. It's about reimagining what's possible, not just recycling the same old talking points. And frankly, I don't see a lot of that coming from either side of the aisle. Too often, our leaders are more interested in scoring political points than solving real problems. The seats in Parliament may be full during question time, but when it comes to genuine collaboration and vision, the room feels empty. If we want real change, maybe it's time to demand more from those who claim to represent us. And to remember that magical thinking won't fix what's broken. Only hard work, honesty, and courage will. So, there you have it. The Australian economic miracle, it's over. The good times are coming to an end, and we're about to enter a new era of economic uncertainty. Does that mean we're all doomed? Not necessarily. Australians are a resilient bunch. We've faced tough times before, and we'll get through this too. But it's time to face reality. The days of easy money and endless prosperity are over. We need to adapt, we need to innovate, and most importantly, we need to start demanding better from our leaders. Because the future is here, and it's time to pay the piper.